Hello and welcome to Writer Rant, author advice in 5 minutes or less because I have to get back to writing and so do you. So one thing I've noticed in some of the books I've been reading recently is that character motivations have been lacking. So you can have main characters and you can have minor characters and protagonists and antagonists. You have a whole lot of different characters. All these characters are going to have different motivations, right? So the trick is that these motivations drive the character to do what they do. So you can put any character that you create down in any situation, and depending on what their motivation is, they can essentially naturally go about and create action and create movement in the plot towards their goal. And so if they don't have that motivation, then suddenly the events around them essentially force them into whatever it is that the writer wants them to do. And so that's more of what I would consider a plot-based type of story as compared to a character-driven story. And as we've seen time and again, character-driven stories are usually a lot better because, again, the motivation's clear, but it's relatable, right? So you have characters who, as humans, we can then connect to on some sort of level, even if they're, let's say, superheroes. And here's the real trick, is that if you have an antagonist who is relatable, suddenly the game changes, because you're like, oh, well, I don't know who to root for now. Am I going to root for the clearly the good guy, or am I going to root for the bad guy, because the bad guy is making some valid arguments. So case in point, some of the recent Marvel movies, so like Black Panther and Avengers Infinity War, like their antagonists just had such rich motivations. They're like, hey, what they thought they were doing was 100% correct. What they thought they were doing was right. And so when you follow those and there's that clash between, hey, these characters who clearly have some valid points are fighting off against the main guys, the main characters, it's like, man, how is this going to turn out? Because if the main character's motivation is weak, then suddenly you're almost rooting for the bad guy. And so that's the mark of a really well-written character in terms of motivation, right? And the real trick, too, is you got to make clear to the audience, to the reader, very early on, that here's this character, here's their motivation. So take One Piece, for instance. So you have Monkey D. Luffy, Episode 1, Chapter 1, bursts out of a barrel, and he pretty much goes straight to the point and says, hey, I'm going to be king of the pirates. And so day 1, chapter 1, you know the main character, his goal is going to be the best pirate in the entire universe, in the entire world. And so if you're waiting until halfway through your story to give your characters motivations, to do some sort of twist, to say, oh, hey, this is what they wanted to do all along, your readers aren't really going to buy that, because you're going to lose your readers by that point. In fact, if you find yourself in the middle of your story, having up until this entire point, having the characters out loud in your writing say, I don't know what I'm doing here, then maybe you need to go back and look at their motivations and say, oh, hey, I am doing this. This is why I am here. Because otherwise, you probably have a plot-driven story, and maybe your readers aren't going to be too interested in that plot because, again, they don't care about the characters because the characters themselves don't even know what they're doing there. And so, yeah, you really got to take a look at that. So what about you, as readers out there? Have you found any really good characters that were written with really deep and just meaningful motivations? Drop a comment below. Let's talk about some of these really well-written characters, or even if they're not that well-written, let's figure out why you think that their motivations that are lacking are a weakness to the story. If there's anything else that you, as readers or writers, are kind of annoyed about the reading or writing process, by all means, drop a comment below, and maybe I'll get to it in a future episode of Writer Rant. And thanks for watching this episode of Writer Rant. I'm Benjamin M. Weilert.